Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 20 of T.W.E.T. Like usual, I'm joined with Rooster and with Leachy for the day, and it's been some time since we've actually done one of these, but we're now here on episode 20. Just want to say a big thank you before we start to everybody who's here on Twitch, anybody who's watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify or any other podcast platform. It's great to have you all here. And we've got quite a lot to talk about today, for sure. One small change is that you'll probably hear a little bit of background music in. We're going to be using Stream Beats by Harris Heller for this, which is completely royalty-free and is done for streamers and YouTubers alike. So a big shout out and thank you to Harris Heller. But yes, we're finally here. We're finally back for episode 20. Can't believe it. Episode 20.
I know.
Madness.
That's a vibe still.
That's a vibe still. And yes, guys, I really wanted to start this one off with Resident Evil 8 because it's a game that I've been playing a lot recently. Of course, it came out, was it last week now or the week before? I think it was the week before. And I don't know if either of you guys have had a chance to have a look at it or to play it. Bobs. No, you know what? I don't really care. That's wrong. This is the internet. This is the internet. Yeah, she's. Oh, I'm absolutely thirst trapped for Lady D. Yeah, just mesmerised. No, honestly though, I don't know if you guys have managed to catch any of the gameplay or actually played the game yourself.
I played the demo.
Demo.
I chose to get Mass Effect Legendary.
No, that's fair.
Over Resident Evil.
Good lad.
We'll talk about that as well just after this. But if I'm being completely honest, and don't worry guys, I'm not going to spoil anything because it's only been out recently, but I would have to say that Resident Evil 8 is easily the top contender for my game of the year so far. And it's only May. That's how much I enjoyed it.
Fair.
Have you guys played any of the Resident Evils before?
No, this is the first one to tickle my interest. No reason.
I played pretty much most of them at some point or in some capacity. Mm-hmm. I finished 7 2 or 3 times.
So 7 was an interesting one. They did a really good job of like revitalizing the series with 7. But I think when I played 7, because this is going to sound really strange. I'm a big fan of the franchise. I'm not so big a fan of the video games. I think they're brilliant, but I don't know. It's just, I'm not that kind of genre kind of player. Like horror games and stuff, I'm not a big fan of them. But I absolutely adore the world of Resident Evil and all of its media. I have so much fun like looking into it, researching it, and everything like this. Now, when Resident Evil 7 came out, it was really difficult to try and link the two together. They did it well, but it was such a change from the previous Resident Evil games that it felt a little bit strange and it didn't feel very Resident Evil at all, in my opinion. That Resident Evil 7 this is.
Yeah.
Now, Resident Evil 8 did a fantastic job of making it feel like the older Resident Evil games while still keeping Resident Evil 7 its kind of core gameplay mechanics and everything like that and just making it better. And
I think they're doing an interesting thing with the sort of the universe linking in the sense of, so Resident Evil 8 and 7 are connected. I won't explain how or why or anything like that because that's like story stuff, but like the universe is it's like when games take place in the same universe and that they have this connection, and they have said that Resident Evil 9 is intended to also be connected. They'll all be these 3 games are connected, but then from that point on, it's gonna be, I suppose, like think of it like a new arc. Like with anime, they have all these different kinds of arcs and things like that. I suppose it's a good way of thinking about it is like that. And Resident Evil 10, whether it's called that or not, but that will then be something completely brand new. And I think they've basically said this is an angle they want to continue with, at least the plan is at the moment, from now on, where they have like a few games that are connected and then something brand new. which release a few games that are connected, and then something brand new.
Well,
rather than like a lot of them being completely like. But yeah, it's an interesting way of going about it, I think.
So what they actually do in Resident Evil 8 is they tie the entire universe in from the start of the franchise, with the whole zombie apocalypse, Raccoon City, the Umbrella Corporation.
Yeah, they found a way of linking it all in a way.
They did it very, very well. And if you're a long-time Resident Evil fan and you've not managed to capture 8 yet, then once you do, you'll understand what I'm saying. Of course, I'm not going to say anything now for spoiler reasons.
It's hard to go on this topic and skate around the spoilers. But
it really is. But they do such a fantastic job of tying in the older titles of the franchise and the whole world. And honestly, I was so pleasantly surprised. And you know what? Not just from that, from it just linking in, the gameplay was fantastic. They had such a wonderful blend of like horror and action. Like there's a section in the game where I was just constantly terrified. I was absolutely shitting myself. And Lauren, bless her, she's not a horror person. She doesn't play those games. She likes to watch me play them. Me and her were just like shaking on the sofa like, I don't want to do this! Because of how like terrifying it was. And they did such a great job of that. It felt very Silent Hill more than it did kind of Resident Evil. That level of horror for one of its sections. And honestly, the action, the gameplay, the characters, the boss fights, I couldn't see any bugs. It was one of the smoothest games that I've played in the last couple of years from release. And that's why it's up there as my number one contender for Game of the Year so far. And I'm not even sorry. Hopefully, depending on what happens, if, let's say, Starfield comes out later on in the year and it's amazing, that probably would knock it off. But it's unlikely that Starfield will come out this year, and it's probably unlikely that it's going to come out and there's not going to be any bugs.
It is a solid chance of it coming out this year, but
we'll have to wait and see.
We'll get on to that topic when we get on to Starfield.
That we will. Now, I won't take up everything to start with. I know you guys wanted to talk a lot about Battlefield, the new title that's going to be coming out, and EA in general. So I'm going to let you guys kind of take the reins for this until
we've had a bit of an interesting 2 weeks, to say the least. So for those who don't know and haven't been following, or have been but isn't aware of what is official and what's not, there's very little news on Battlefield 2021. I'll probably call it Battlefield 6, but it's not guaranteed that that's what it's going to be, but for the sake of simplicity. So the only official news that we have mostly comes from EA earnings calls and stuff like that. So even the stuff that's in there is like, you've really got to pick out the information, but it's your typical stuff. Gonna be return to all-out war, which kind of hints towards a modern setting again, and full scale, turning the destruction up, all the things you expect. The only things that have really been explained to us and given to us officially by DICE is everything you'd expect a new Battlefield game to do anyway. Be bigger and have more destruction. It's what they do. But we have had a very interesting 2 weeks with leaks. This Battlefield has had the biggest leak scene of any Battlefield in history. We've had insiders making all sorts of claims. We've had trailer audio supposedly leaked, trailer screenshots supposedly leaked, and just all sorts. We've then had loads of insiders and leakers talking about what's definitely coming. Now, the problem we've run into is EA aren't really a company to bend over for leakers. They, simply put, don't react to leaks at all. They don't take them down. They don't they don't do anything to it. They don't speak up about it. So Battlefield's community has had all of these things leaking over the past 2 weeks, or over the course of a week, leading up to when leakers had claimed we were getting a trailer, and then obviously we have this supposed trailer audio and screenshots, which tells everyone that, oh, the trailer's definitely coming. And then EA and DICE are completely silent about it. They don't acknowledge the leaks at all. And if anything, I think they've done a good job, because they've, as much as the community's starting to get annoyed, they've actually taken control back, because they haven't given leakers power. They haven't released the trailer because leakers have told them to. So the time when we were supposed to get the trailer rolled around, and they finally make an announcement simply saying June. Like, we'll get information in June. So we've still had absolutely nothing. But all of these leaks have only, at first, they started to build the hype, which is what you want. But this is where the communities need to be very careful, because the hype was built and it seemed like it was a good thing. But then everybody started to expect something. And then when they didn't get it, everyone's taking their anger out on DICE. Like, there was calls for DICE employees to be fired, and death threats and everything, all about the fact that this, 2 minutes of slight CGI didn't come out. Like, come on, guys. Like, the fact that people are acting like this over less than 2 minutes of colored pixels is pathetic. But it goes to show that the build of the hype was good, but then when people didn't get what they suddenly expected to get, because they didn't take leaks with a pinch of salt, they started to believe it, it's now killed all momentum and all hype for the next Battlefield. And that is unfair, essentially.
But could that be a boon? And now let me just say that in recent history, hype for video games before being released has done nothing but harm that studio's reputation and the game's rep as well.
Yeah,
so
but the problem is they've already had the negative effect of the overhype and disappointment. So they have to, like, Battlefield's on its last legs. So they have to knock it out of the park regardless. But like you're saying, with when hype is built up too much and then a game doesn't meet expectations, it affects the game. But the problem is now is this is only a small percentage, so it's not going to be much of a problem. This is only the really hardcore fans. Because what people forget when they say, like what I've just said, that the community is annoyed, is the community that have actually paid attention to these leaks are 1% of the player base of Battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
The 99% of Battlefield's player base don't even know that this stuff has even happened.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even know. I think I caught something on Twitter, but I didn't. I just kind of bugged it off.
But they've already built up this hype and then been disappointed. So for this section of the community now, they need to knock this out of the park.
Yeah.
Even more, because of the fact that so many people are disappointed in their marketing.
No, that's fair. What about you, Leach? What's your kind of take on this so far?
I mean, I'm inclined to agree for the most part. So I tried with Battlefield 5. I loved Battlefield 5. I think I've made that pretty clear in previous episodes.
Definitely.
But I tried after the, quite frankly, shit show that 5 was after launch. I was very much like, right, Battlefield's in a place now where they got to be very careful with what they release next, and me as a player as well need to be very careful in how attached I get before the game even comes out.
Yeah.
Because as much as I loved 5, it was abandoned. The players were hung out to dry.
Yeah, it had one of the lowest sales numbers of any Battlefield. So we love it, but commercially, it is a failure.
Yeah, so as much faith as I have in the series, I kept telling myself, just wait and see. Because Battlefield 5, in my opinion, looked like it was going to be decent anyway. I wasn't one of these ones that hated the marketing of 5. It could have been better, but I don't think it was a shit show that people made it. The community made it worse than it was, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and the main problem is it's not so much the game itself that was the problem. It's the failure of marketing prevented sales. So it's not even so much that people bought the game, didn't like it, and stopped playing. It's that people just never bought the game.
I mean, that's what EA told them to do, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. Is the comment of, if you don't like it, don't buy it. Like, what a ridiculous statement for an EA member to make, and the community just went, okay, and didn't buy the game. And Battlefield 5 had one of the lowest numbers. Now, proof that it's not a terrible game gameplay-wise is the fact that it's on Game Pass now, and it was recently on one of the free games for PlayStation Plus or whatever, and all of a sudden, it's actually had a huge surge in player numbers.
Yeah,
because loads of people are now going, oh, well, I got it for free now. I'll give it a go. Hell, Firestorm, the Battle Royale that was completely abandoned, don't try it on PC. You still can't find a lobby. Don't get me wrong. It's dead on PC still. But on console, people are finding lobbies in less than a minute. Like, Firestorm is active on consoles because all of a sudden there's this huge player count that now have access to the game who refused to buy the game because of bad marketing.
Yeah.
That are now playing it because they got it because of a subscription service they're already paying for.
See, that's what's beautiful about Game Pass.
Exactly.
Carry on.
This is why DICE need to take control of the marketing, because Battlefield 5 had a lot of issues. Yes, and those issues with the game itself really hindered the player base that did buy it. But its biggest problem was its marketing, which prevented sales. So the marketing is where Battlefield 2021 needs to be perfect. And at the moment, they're not doing that. It's getting worrying.
Yeah, but so for me, to go back to what I was saying anyway, with how Battlefield 5 turned out post-launch, I had this whole thing, just take it as it comes. Don't get too excited for the next game before we know anything about it, because what if this happens again, basically?
Yeah.
And I never said.
Oh,
It's one of my all-time favorite series. And so I'll always play it.
Yeah.
But the thing for me was, is it going to be one of those games that I leave for a while and see how it turns out? Or am I going to get it pretty soon after release? Pretty much jump on it as soon as it comes out. Now, that being said, we got all these leaks over the last couple of weeks, and yeah, okay, they're leaks. And I'm very much of the whole, take it with a bucket of salt, not just a pinch.
Yeah, if it's not official, then don't trust it.
Yeah,
but you can get hyped.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. Like, the way the things have been with the leaks. Okay, yeah, like Rooster said, it's not official. It could turn out to be totally incorrect. Every single thing that has been said could be incorrect. But I don't know, it's that feeding of something. There is something that, and it's plausible. It's not official, but it's not totally absurd. Like some leaks you see, and they are literally just fan theories, and you can see that right from the get-go, and they just scream fake. But there's a very good solid plausibility to what we've seen, and I mean, it is generating hype. I'm more excited than ever for a Battlefield game, and for a game for that matter. I've been so disconnected from future upcoming titles for quite a while. I'm still very much a gamer. I just don't really dwell on new titles as much as I used to. But I'm hyped for the next Battlefield game.
We want to see what's coming. We want to see what's happening.
And in terms of how EA and DICE are handling it, I kind of like that they're not saying anything. Okay, I was gutted by the fact they went, oh yeah, June, because it's like, God damn it, is it going to be early June? Is it going to be late June? Are we waiting just 2 or 3 more weeks, or are we waiting potentially the full month? And it was like, because technically they could release it on the very last day of June, and it would still be. They didn't lie. They said June. But I kind of also like the fact that they've just gone, yeah, well, we'll tell you in June.
Yeah,
But other than that,
one of the good things that EA have done is they've taken ownership of it, because when the leaks started to get out of hand, like there's leaks of tidbits of information and stuff like that. But then there's full-blown releasing trailer audio and images and stuff like that. Like, I haven't listened to the trailer audio. Now, the leakers actually started making threats saying like, oh, if they don't release the trailer on Tuesday, then I will, and stuff like that. And I think it was the right move by EA to just ignore it, do absolutely nothing, because they've completely taken control of the situation. And without saying a word, they've said a lot to the whole community. They've basically turned around and said, don't believe the bullshit you see from other people. If it hasn't come from us, don't trust it. Because they haven't allowed the leakers to force them to release a trailer they're not ready to release. That's where I think they've handled it correctly.
Yeah, because I suppose a big part of it as well, and okay, yeah, the trailer might very well be ready. It has been seen by internal members of the team, and it might be fully edited, and they might the final version that they intend to release might be just sat there, saved in somebody's documents folder. It could literally be waiting to go live. But there's so much more to marketing that trailer that needs to be done. It's not unusual for a game dev to market their game in the real world as well, if that makes sense. To have like ads on the side of bus stops and stuff. Nothing too major, like a huge freaking billboard, but we don't know what they intend to do when that trailer finally goes live. They could come out and go, oh yeah, the beta launches next week. We don't know that. We haven't got any of the inside information of, are they just going to drop a trailer on us and be done with it? Or, do they plan on having this huge, here's some information, here's the trailer, and all our socials are about to light up over the next week with little bits here and there, and because it was like Battlefield 3 or maybe 4.
Did the land, sea, and air thing where we got little tidbits and stuff.
Yeah,
but
we don't know.
It's seeming more like the latter, because for those who don't know, EA Play, is it? EA show?
Yeah.
That's usually around E3 time, has been pushed back to July 22nd. So the fact that we're getting Battlefield in June gives us the possibility that June is going to be dedicated entirely to Battlefield, because the rest of their stuff is going to happen after E3 in July, whereas it's usually July the 20th that they, or the 18th that they do EA Play, but it's now July 22nd. So that's coming a whole month later, 40 days later.
Yeah, so
the Battlefield's coming in June, so we could end up with quite a lot.
Sorry, is this the trailer or the game? I'm confused.
Like,
right, okay,
all the information, all the information, because unfortunately at the moment we know literally nothing about the game. Like they've been teasing, but they haven't told us anything. We don't know whether it's going to be a World War game, future, Vietnam War.
I'll tell you what, a Vietnam video game would go down a treat right now. I think that's an area of history within military video games that we've completely missed the mark on for a while now. The closest thing to it is the new Arma 3 DLC, which is fantastic.
I was going to mention Prairie Fire.
Yeah, I've been playing that quite a bit, and that's good fun. But I reckon if one of the franchises takes up the Vietnamese War, that could be a big seller, depending on whether or not they do it right. I mean, I know that they touched on it last in the most recent Call of Duty, but I think it was only very small and limited. Yeah, and that was about it. So I think it's an era that a game needs to dedicate itself to within new engines and so on. I think they could make a killing off of it. That's my personal opinion. I
completely agree
interested
with you.
In the Vietnam War.
Rising Storm 2 Vietnam, which is a little bit of an older game now, is absolutely fantastic, and I would love to see that done by one of the big dogs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because what Rising Storm 2 Vietnam has done is amazing. Like, the game is so good, but it is by a smaller studio. I mean, that's not necessarily to say that it's a negative thing. Like I said, the game is amazing, but I imagine either a fully fledged Call of Duty or a Battlefield game that is entirely dedicated to Vietnam.
I reckon Battlefield
that could knock it out of the park. Or a Battlefield
game set in Vietnam would probably be the better of the two.
I don't think Battlefield has done Vietnam in about 15 years.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of franchises have for a long time.
It's early 2000s is the last time that Battlefield did a Vietnam game. So
yeah, so there was a Vietnam expansion for Bad Company 2.
Yeah.
That was the last time they ever touched on it.
Yeah.
The last full-on game was Battlefield Vietnam, and it was like you said, it was early 2000s.
Yeah.
Right, anyway, I'm going to move us on very quickly because we don't have too much time. I'm going to give you guys about 3 minutes for this one, okay? Mass Effect Legendary Edition, go.
Don't need 3 minutes. All I can say is it's absolutely perfect. If you haven't bought it, go and buy it. Get on that damn game. Get into be fucking Shepherd.
We're shilling left, right, and centre today, everyone. All right.
I played.
Nope, Leachy, no. Done. No more needs to be said.
Go on, Leach.
Go on.
I sat down with it yesterday, with the intention of just playing a bit. You know, I was around my missus' house, so I was just play a little bit. 10 hours later at 3 a.m.
Yeah. That's what it does.
It does.
Mass Effect is hands down one of the greatest RPG series that was ever made, and there's a few bugs. It's not completely perfect, but anybody who's ever expecting a perfect game launch is a moron.
The best part about
if they've improved, particularly on the first game, but it plays how you expect it to play.
Yeah.
You want to play Mass Effect, it is Mass Effect in all of its glory and more. Like, simple as that.
Yes, absolutely. I'm still running around the Citadel at the moment, getting experience as much as possible. I have to say, though, going back and playing a game that was originally released in 2007, and they've made some great improvements, but you can tell after... I'm such a fan of Mass Effect 2, and going back to Mass Effect 1, it's so sluggishly hard to get through.
Dated.
And the voice acting at points, you're just a little bit like... But we've got to remember, it's a 2007 game. The updates are fantastic.
It shows its age,
it does.
But, it's aged
like an egg, but it's still the start of something that is absolutely gorgeous in every way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
The Mass Effect trilogy is one of the greatest trilogy of video games that have ever been released, and I won't even sit here and have anybody say, no, it wasn't. Fuck the lot of you, you're wrong. You're wrong.
Exactly.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
But
I'm with you.
you as soon as you can get through like the first, I would say, quarter of the first game, the voice acting gets so much better, and then of course you've got the big choice of who you're going to save, the racist bitch or the really boring character. Ooh!
Kaidan is not that bad.
He's not,
People
but he's
hate on Kaidan.
boring. He's so boring.
I'm 10 hours in and I still haven't actually got to that bit yet.
I think you can get there in a couple of hours. Like if you only do the main storyline, I think you can do it. Like get there in like 3-4 hours.
Only today. So I think I'm about 13 hours in now because I played a little bit today. And
Adam, you're wrong.
I've only just saved Liara, and that's the first of the first 3 missions you get once you become the commander of the Normandy. I've just done the first one because I've side quested for 10 hours.
I've done the exact
13
same
hours.
thing.
I've side quested.
First thing I did was go and get Liara because I needed a
I have Mass Effect's version of a fucking big old cannon, and I one-shot most enemies, so it's fine.
But yeah, basically Mass Effect Legendary Edition, it's a new release. It's going to have a couple of bugs, but if you've never played Mass Effect, now's the perfect time to pick up the Legendary Edition.
Yep.
If you are a big fan of Mass Effect, just go out and buy it. It's perfection. It's everything you remember it was.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm getting flashbacks from when I first started playing it years and years ago, and it's just it's just a fantastic story from beginning to end. And you know what? People are going to sit there and say, oh, but the ending's shit. The ending's, yeah, it's not what it deserved, but it's not all that bad.
Yeah. One big thing I want to mention, actually. The biggest thing that they changed, is the most subtle thing, and they never talked about it, but I'm so glad they changed it. Tally's photo has been changed. So for those that don't know, you can find Tally's a photograph of Tally in her quarters, of her out of her suit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the big controversy around it, I think this was in the third game, the big controversy around it is the fact that it was literally just a stock photo, a free stock photo of some woman, and they'd like ever so lightly photoshopped it, and people just complained. People did not like the fact
people
that
complain about anything.
But it genuinely looked like, you know, for such a big thing, and like you can probably pick up the photo and look at it, like it's supposed to be a big part of, oh wow, this is what Tally looks like. It's the face reveal of Tally, and it looked like they took an intern, gave him 5 minutes on Photoshop, and went, oh quick, make this picture look alien. They have officially designed Tally. They've actually designed a unique picture for Tally, and it sounds like something small, but it was more insulting to the fact that they took such a big face reveal and just shit all over it. But they fixed it.
What are we gonna do for this photo? Oh, just give it to an intern and let them do it.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, that was more than 3 minutes, so we'll quickly move on. So, Star Citizen, because I bring it up in every podcast, don't care, is having its free fly this week. It's starting on Friday, I believe, or Saturday, and it's Invictus Week. So, what is Invictus Week? Invictus Week is basically they'll have a whole bunch of showrooms. All the different manufacturers will be showing off their different ships out there. I don't know if anybody here has seen the most recent leaked photo of what's coming out and what's currently on the PTU, but they've made an X-Wing in Star Citizen! Oh my god, I'm pumped! It's so good!
Are you? I can't tell.
It's so good.
Yeah. Can you put a bit more enthusiasm into that, please?
It's so good. Honestly, and I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. Illy, you'll probably have to confirm this for me, but I think it has an attack and defense mode where the actual wings will close and come up and open at the same time, like when you hit a key. I'm not sure. I don't know, but if that is the case, then honestly, that's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a free fly event, so if you guys have ever wanted to try Star Citizen, you will be able to play it for free on, I believe it's Saturday. But if you're in the Discord, you can always jump in. That's going to be Saturday, the 22nd of May 2021, just in case you're watching this a lot further in the future. I'm not going to go into more Star Citizen. I'm going to quickly move on from that straight into Ashes of Creation. So this is only a very quick one. As a lot of you may know who have been here for the channel for quite a long time, I'm starting to shift my focus a little bit into Ashes of Creation. I've got about 11 videos in the pipeline right now for the game, but they lifted their verbal NDA yesterday, and this is a really important thing that people need to know about, because everybody who played the game is now allowed to talk about their experiences and what they actually did in the game for the Alpha 1 test. Now, the Alpha 1 test are for people that only for the people that are either creators, have a specific key from the developers themselves, or paid $500 to get an Alpha 1 key. So remember that this is a very specific set of players who have had this experience. But everybody, and I was reading like all the reviews, because they set it up on a website, they sent that information out to people and allowed people to put up their experiences and what they did. Every single person was so unbelievably positive about their experience, what they did, how they did it, how the game looks, even in its Alpha 1 stage. There's going to be Alpha 1, Alpha 2, Beta 1, Beta 2, and then release. That's the plan. Everybody was just really happy with it. And I think, again, taking it with a pinch of salt, but that's such a huge thing for anybody who's interested in Ashes of Creation. The fact that from the get-go, there's not been a negative thing said about it in its first stage of alpha. I'm
looking to get into seeing
pumped.
some more of the game, to be honest. Like, it's from what I've seen so far of the bits we've done, it seems like a really interesting project. It seems like it's just gonna be good fun, to be honest with you. So I'm looking forward to seeing more from it.
And I'm looking more and more forward to getting into the crux of this game. I've been doing a video on the node system, which will be coming out hopefully within the next couple of days. And as I was building the script for it, I was looking and researching, and I said to myself, okay, that's going to have to be a separate video. I said that 4 times. One script created an additional 4 video ideas. That's how intricate the game is. And that's just one system. That's just its node system. Like, the game is going to be... it should be huge, as long as it's marketed correctly. The subscription fee is warranted, because unfortunately it will be subscription based, and the content itself, especially endgame, is just fantastic, because there's not going to be a traditional endgame, but there'll be more videos about that coming out, and I don't want to stay on Ashes of Creation all that long. The next thing we should talk about is Starfield, as there's big news.
Nom 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 nom. That's me eating some of my words.
So essentially, what has happened, and it's not officially official, but the person who mentioned it,
Jeff Grubb,
he's like 98% correct about anything he said and everything that's kind of come to fruition off the back of that. Starfield will Starfield will be an Xbox and PC exclusive to Microsoft. It will not be coming on the PlayStation. There's like probably a 0.5% chance that that's not true.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, this new IP from Bethesda, recently acquired by Microsoft, is going to be an Xbox and PC exclusive.
Yeah, some comments they made on the round table now make a lot more sense, and the slight question dodging now makes sense. So obviously, when the acquisition finally went through and was final, they did a little round table where people from Xbox and people from Bethesda had a bit of a chat and answered some questions. And some of the questions asked was about exclusivity. And they sort of dodged the question somewhat. They did admit, there's bound to be some exclusives, obviously, but they did also clarify that they will uphold previous agreements. For example, Deathloop is a 1-year exclusive to PlayStation 5, even though it is now technically owned by Microsoft. But they've turned around and said they're not going to go back on contracted deals that Bethesda had already made. And they also turned around and said that they will uphold legacy expectations. So what people believe that means is that's their way of saying Elder Scrolls games aren't going to suddenly become exclusive. But Starfield is a brand new IP. There is no legacy of Starfield. So although honestly I didn't think they would, I thought they would continue to happily release it on PlayStation 5, I'm not too shocked that they has gone exclusive. I still don't think that Elder Scrolls 6 will be exclusive, but I'm now less certain of that. There is still more of a possibility of it going exclusive, but I would personally classify the Elder Scrolls franchise as one of those, quote, legacy franchises that they mentioned.
I'm just disappointed. I'm actively disappointed, because it completely goes against what they've sat and said. They're trying to get more games into the hands of players, and excluding large platforms such as this just doesn't help that. And we don't know the ins and the outs, and at the end of the day, we know from various different companies that PlayStation can be very difficult to work with, and it's hard to develop a game on their platform because they're not very helpful.
Yeah, Bethesda, before being acquired, are one of the companies that have repeatedly stated that PlayStation's difficult to work with. They've openly said in the past they don't like working with Sony because they're difficult.
And that's a
now
problem.
they're part of Xbox, which just even more enforces that. Like,
unlucky.
It's funny because a while ago, Sony actually again, this is like insider rumors. This never went public, so take this with a bucket of salt. It could be fabrication, but I doubt it's fabrication because it just makes no sense to make this up. Not if you're a reputable insider. But apparently Sony did approach Bethesda to get some form of exclusivity of Starfield, whether it be entirely to the PlayStation or the whole 1-year exclusive thing they like to do. And were basically completely shut down by Bethesda. And we're like, no. No. Now, my theory on that is that the talks with Xbox had already started. Mm-hmm. None of it was, public. None of it was official. It was like brainstorming. It was like a theory that some higher ups were talking about. But I reckon they shut down PlayStation because they were already talking to Xbox about the acquisition to come in like a year or two's time. But yeah, it's just the full turnaround, the full 180 from Sony attempting to get exclusivity of Starfield to now them not having it at all. It's funny. It's ironic.
Excuse me. It's a shame that unfortunately we're still, it's 2021 and we're still talking about exclusives like they.
Yeah, I hate exclusives.
They run the market when they just don't. And I was having a conversation with somebody on Twitter about it, and how they said, exclusives are a big thing at the moment. And unfortunately, yes, they are, but they're not kind of steering the market like I think some people think that. People at the moment, when the new consoles come out, they're loyal. That's it. That's what runs the market, is full-on loyalty. Because you'll have somebody... And that's different for PC gamers, but to be honest, PC gamers, we are a very small chunk of that entire market. Because, to get the equipment is just so expensive. But that's the thing. For your bang for your buck, a console is always going to be worth more than a PC. And that's just that. But a PC, of course, the more you spend on it, the more you can get out of it.
I think the amazing thing as well, though, is with the current generation as well, that gap is so much smaller.
Yes.
Now, like the Series X and the PS5 are genuinely amazing pieces of hardware.
Yeah, they are.
And they're really closing that gap. And these console player bases are always going to be that majority of the market.
Yeah.
So PC players can feel happy and confident and be like, Xbox exclusive means Microsoft exclusive. Yeah. If it's coming to Xbox, it's coming to PC, so we're fine. But PS5 would have been a huge, huge portion of Starfield's player base.
It would have. And you know what? Talking about exclusivity and stuff like this, can I just say that Sony are a bunch of assholes for charging full price for a game that's been on a PlayStation for about 2 years right now, coming to PC. So,
Days Gone.
So Days Gone is coming to the PC.
Days Gone, money gone.
And the fact that they're charging 50 quid for it is an absolute joke. I don't care what anybody says. Like, if PlayStation want to kind of maneuver into, releasing some of their games to PC and hitting up that market, which is not a bad idea from a business perspective, you can get a nice amount of income off of that after a year or 2 years later from a game actually releasing. Like, having The Last of Us on PC a year, 2 years after it released on the PlayStation would bring in a nice, sizable chunk of money. But don't charge full price for it. That's such a bullshit move. Like, oh yeah, here you go. Days Gone. It's been out on the PlayStation for 2 years. 50 quid, please. $60, please. Are you fucking serious? That's not right. Like, hey gamers, guess what? Fuck you. Like,
I mean, it's Sony. Like, quote, for the players, bollocks. But
it's it's not. It's just not right. And it's just not right. And I agree with Yeti here. There is no need for fighting over exclusives and stuff like that. Exclusivity is not good for the market. And the three of us here are always in agreement with this. Exclusivity does nothing but harm the market. And unfortunately, for a lot of people who play console games and only have one console, that seems to be that ongoing war.
The problem with the Starfield thing, though, is like you've said, Xbox's main push is this whole, get the games in the hands of the players, however that be. Now, there are plenty of people out there that only own a PlayStation. They don't have a PC. They don't have an Xbox. Maybe they've been lucky enough to be one of the people that's managed to get a PS5, and they could have been so excited for a new Bethesda IP for the past 3 years, only to now find out that they're not going to be able to play it unless they're willing to go out and spend another £500 on the other console that they didn't want. And a lot of people just aren't willing to do that. They're not going to do that. And so, as much as I sort of ha, it's funny, Sony likes to do their exclusives and now they've had it, something, the rug pulled from under them kind of thing. I do feel bad for those who are a PlayStation fan, not an Xbox fan.
But, I mean,
and it's the players that are being hurt by this.
Two wrongs don't make a right, and unfortunately, battling the exclusive with another exclusive on the other side of the fence is just another wrong.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate that Starfield is again. This is about 95%. Right, there is that 5% chance that Jeff Grubb could be wrong, but anybody who knows of Jeff Grubb knows that this man is just.
He's right.
He's got his fingers in all of the pots. He knows what he's talking about.
He's right 99 out of 100% of the time.
Yeah, although he's not official, you can usually take what he says with relative confidence. The biggest thing he's ever really wrong on is dates, and that's because dates change all the time.
Yeah.
But something like this, if he's heard that it's exclusive, it's probably exclusive.
Which is a shame. But everybody, that's it. That's going to be it for the podcast today. It's been it's great to be back actually for episode 20. We've gone through quite a lot. Yeah, it has been a while. I think January was the last one, or maybe Feb. But I mean, we've gone through Resident Evil 8, the X-Wing of Star Citizen, yes please, Ashes of Creation, so a lot of Battlefield talk as well, and kind of what EA is doing and all of that front. And everything kind of along those lines.
One last thing before we go then is at this point, next episode will probably be just after E3, because E3 is coming up and we're going to have so much to talk about after that. So probably be in just over a month's time from this point. Will probably be episode 21, and that'll probably be a pretty big one, because E3 is literally around the corner at this point.
And there you go. So just a big thank you to everybody who is here in the Twitch chat as well, who got involved and asked some questions and so on. Anybody who's watching it on YouTube, a big thank you to you guys. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And anybody who's listening to this on Spotify or any other podcast location, then feel free to pop in the YouTube, pop in the Discord, anything along those lines, and let's keep this conversation all running. But for all of us, it's a big thank you. Have a great rest of your day, and we will catch you on the next one. Thanks, everybody.
Toodles.
See yous.